Tell me, wait! As he ran along Kondori after Miku, Minorukawa heard someone shout out a familiar name. Hitomi was a pretty common name. Ordinarily, he wouldn't have given it a second thought, but he remembered that one of the Miss Midoriyama winners was named Tomi Osawa. That made him curious. A moment later, he heard a cell phone ringtone. He immediately recognized it as an Ayaki Miki song. His reporter's instincts tingled. He stopped to take a look around, and one young woman caught his eye almost immediately. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a Tomi. My gosh. Couldn't assume that any pretty girl he saw was Miss Midoriyama. Throw would be a little too convenient if he just so happened to run into her now. Still, it didn't cost him anything to ask. Are you Tomi Osawa? He might as well at least check. But to his own surprise, he hesitated in embarrassment. He'd never been too embarrassed to ask a question before. He didn't get a chance to contemplate that realization. Oh. Was he still too close? A massive fiery blast knocked him from his feet. A deafening roar set him head throbbing. What was that? What's going on? He lay in a daze on the ground, trying to wrap his mind around what had just happened. Behind him, there was a minivan fiercely ablaze. A minivan? An explosion. The first thing to pop into his mind was the attempted bioterrorist attack in Kasu Megaseki 2 years earlier. An unoccupied minivan exploded outside an NPD station, and afterward a device meant to scatter dangerous biological agent had been discovered near the subway. In the end, no one had been harmed, but there were rumors that the government had paid a terrorist organization a hefty sum to keep it that way. Right now, Minorukawa was a stone's throw from the Shibuya precinct. Let's repeat the Kasu Megaseki attack. The entire area was in an uproar. People were running around in panic. Minorukawa could see several injured people lying on the ground unmoving. And despite the gravity of the situation, numerous onlookers were casually taking photos with their cell phones. Minorukawa got to his feet, then went to try to get everyone away from the scene of the explosion. Hey, you guys, get back! There could be another bomb! Minorukawa looked around as he pushed back the crowd. He was getting the strong whiff of a scoop. He needed to ride his copy ASAP, but he couldn't just turn his back on the situation now. The young men were strolling toward the burning vehicle. They had the look of juvenile delinquents. Well, what the heck? Is this for real? Ain't this dangerous? Like, we're serious? Prepare to try to find an optimal vantage point. Hey, Minorukawa snapped. Don't get any closer. He spread his arms wide to hold him back. The young man came to a halt, but otherwise paid him no heed. Oh, this is bad. This is for real bad. Think this is a terrorist thing? Yo, get out your phone. Come on. Like you think this is a terrorist thing? Dude, shut up. Just hurry up and call Susumu. The taller of the two, dressed in red, was ordering around his blue-clad companion. Huh? Boy in blue huffed. Man, do it yourself. Say what now? Bitch, this ain't no time to get yourself all worked up. Minorukawa stood there, arms still held wide, getting more and more annoyed at their back and forth. Yo, just make the call, man, the young fellow in red scowled was going to back down. Huh? Yo, what difference does it make if I do it or you do it? It doesn't make any difference, so it doesn't matter if you do it. Yeah, right, it don't matter. So in that case, you do it. Look, I'm telling you to just make the damn call. And I'm telling you to just make it your damn self. Okay, oh, enough of this already. Minorukawa opened his mouth to tell them off. Then the young man in red spoke again. Dude, the goods from over at Endo Electronics are gone. You gotta let Susumu know. The name Endo Electronics caught Minorukawa's attention. Huh? Yeah, but ain't that all that Hachi dude's fault for getting all huffy at us? I mean, it was Kiryu who told us to go find the Endo storehouse. Yeah, but Susumu don't like dealing in stolen goods. Says it dirties the SOS's name. Oh, what a coincidence. Looks like these two were SOS members. Hey, Minorukawa called out, you two. Finally succeeded in getting their attention. Where's this Susumu fellow? I'd like to talk to him. He had no idea who Susumu was, having only heard the name just now. Still, from the way these two were talking, it seemed clear he had some position of leadership. You think I'd tell you if I knew? The fellow in red snarled. Minorukawa kept his composure. Listen, you guys know the Tenryu Gumi. The Tenryu Gumi was the Yakuza syndicate that operated in Shibuya. An up-and-coming Yakuza syndicate that turned up on the scene 10 years ago. With the seemingly legitimate Takarada financing as its business front, the group offers monetary solutions for people in financial trouble. But those who accept their offers soon find that their troubles only grow and grow, embroiled in conflict with the Kanto Shiramane Gumi, who have been long established in Shibuya. These street kids were sure to be familiar with the name, if nothing else. I may not look it, but I'm in pretty tight with the Tenryu Gumi, and maybe you two don't know it, but Susumu's been showing at their office a lot lately. Susumu's been dealing with the Yakuza? Whoa, for real? Sweet! The two punks spotted it completely. What's the Swiss using as their hangout these days? Got a little something to discuss with Susumu. Right now it's this bar called Inferno. Norikawa made a mental note of the name. Right, Inferno is where exactly? The two young men suddenly looked distinctly uncomfortable. Uh-oh. Later! Yeah, I got a thing I gotta do too. Backing away, they took off through the crowd. Hey, wait up! I need to know where Inferno is! But the pair had already vanished. To be continued. Nope. Ambulances began arriving at the scene and paramedics rushed out to tend to the wounded. Excuse me, would you mind answering a few questions? When Norikawa turned to see a man in a suit approach him, flashing his badge. Several people were on the ground nearby, evidently injured by the explosion. A girl in a hoodie was crouched among them, doing their best to tend to their injuries. Riku Morita, while walking along, upset at Norikawa for not introducing her to an Aiki Jujutsu dojo, she happened across the aftermath of the minivan explosion. Unable to stand idly by when faced with such a horrific scene, she pitched in as best she could to help the wounded. Kano recognized her as the girl he talked to earlier during the traffic jam. Police, he announced. Get back, let me handle this. The girl was visibly relieved. Help her, she said. She pointed to a figure lying on the sidewalk a short distance from the burning minivan. Jeez, it was a Middle Eastern girl. She appeared to be unconscious. Uh-oh. I think she got hurt rescuing another girl about college age, the girl in the hoodie said. College-age girl? That might be a Tomi. What happened to the girl she saved, Kano asked. Good Samaritan looked around. Huh? Where'd she go? The rescuee had disappeared. This girl here, the girl in the hoodie, gestured toward the fallen girl. I can't believe how fast she was. She spoke with a hint of awe. The way she moved to get to the other girl, she was on a level way beyond mine. Kano took another look at the injured girl. Her figure looked rather delicate. It was hard to believe she was capable of great feats of athleticism. He started toward her, but Stanley stepped ahead of him. Leave this one to me, he said. Uh-oh, I don't trust this. His expression was unusually stern even for him. Do you know her? Kano asked. The American didn't answer as he checked the girl's pulse and then her pupils. Hey, Stanley, don't you have other things that you should be doing? Stanley snapped. Fine then, Kano decided to flex to my witness accounts. I don't like this. Patrol cars and ambulances arrived at the scene in a steady stream. Once the vehicle fire was under control, things gradually began to calm down. Several officers worked to cover the area around the burned minivan with the blue tarp. Kano got his questioning underway, starting by flashing his badge at a man near the front of the crowd. Excuse me, would you mind answering a few questions? The man puffed himself up. How about you answer a few questions for me? Was this an accident or an attack? We still don't know many details, Kano admitted. The man shoved his finger in Kano's face. Let me rephrase that for you. This is a major incident. Huh? I've been around the block a few times, and I know all your police PR lingo, and when you start talking about the details, that is 100% indicative of a major incident. Well, I sure picked the wrong guy to try and talk to. Stifling his frustration, Kano continued his questioning. Did you happen to notice anything unusual prior to the explosion? Unusual? Now that you mention it, I think I heard a cell phone ringtone. Ringtone? No, never mind, forget that. There's no way the ringtone on someone's phone would be audible through all that. The man was probably right, but somehow the idea nagged at Kano. He jotted down a note on his pad. Kano. It was Stanley, perfect timing. Thank you for your cooperation, Kano told the man. Then he hurried on his way. Stanley stepped in close enough to whisper. Who was that guy? An eyewitness to the explosion, apparently. Did he have any info? He said he heard a cell phone ringtone at the time of the explosion. Not sure that's significant, though. Stanley stood silently for a moment, thinking. What about that girl? Kano asked. Has she woken up? No. I'm going to drive her to the hospital. Huh? Why do that yourself? Stick around, Stanley said. He cast his eyes out over the scene. There were still many injured people lying on the roadside. It seemed the authorities hadn't sent enough ambulances. Isn't your car back at Maru Yamacho? Kano asked. Under the circumstances, I think it makes sense for me to go back for it, Stanley replied coolly. Besides, I have a few things I'd like to ask her. Kano was curious. You do? He asked. Stanley's cell rang. Yes, Stanley answers the phone in English. As he listened, his demeanor changed. Blood drained from his face and his hand began to tremble slightly as he gripped the phone. Kano had never seen him shaken up. You got it, Stanley said at last. He hung up the phone and let out a sigh. What is it? Kano asked. Stanley headed into an alley without responding. Kano hurried after him. Once they were out of earshot of the crowd, Stanley finally spoke. That call right now was from Gordon, my superior. He broke off there and for a long while was silent. He appeared to be struggling with some strong emotion. Kano was getting impatient. What is it? If you're going to tell me something, then tell me. Kano said, not to press. If it's that difficult to talk about, you don't have to. Kano said, not to press. If it's that difficult to talk about, you don't have to. No, Sandy said, I should tell you this. He braced himself before continuing. We were contacted on our end by the mastermind of this plot. Those international criminals you mentioned? Correct. Roughly 8 hours ago, they infected Maria Osawa with the UO virus. Then they let her loose somewhere in Shibuya. Hold on. By UO you mean... Kano thought back to his earlier conversation with Stanley. These criminals were trying to get their hands on a new drug. An antiviral drug developed by Kenji Osawa that had been shown to be effective against the UO virus. Stanley hesitated before continuing. This is a killer virus with a 100% mortality rate once it takes hold. Kenji Osawa's antiviral is our only means of combating it. A mortality rate of 100%? Has an incubation period of 12 hours. Another 4 hours, Maria Osawa will go symptomatic. Well then, this is news. After that, she'll begin spreading the virus through the city. It's capable of airborne transmission. Following the onset of symptoms, individuals infected with the UO virus bleed from the lungs, and the virus is readily released into the air via coughing. The UO virus is highly resilient in the open air and can survive even after saliva or other fluids have evaporated. Simply getting within 2 meters of a symptomatic patient is said to carry a high risk of infection. Body fluids from deceased patients carry an especially high concentration of the virus, and anything contaminated with such fluids must be thoroughly sterilized before it is safe. Stanley nodded. If we don't administer Kenji Osawa's antiviral before she develops symptoms? Yes. Kano's voice was trembling now. Stanley spoke with complete certainty. Everyone in Shibuya is going to die. Well, then we need to find Maria Osawa and get the antiviral to her as soon as possible, Kano said, panicking. Stanley remained cool. Just calm down, there's more to the story. Stanley was interrupted by a strange sound on the upper floors of a nearby building. Unsure of what it was, the 2 men had already relocated. He paused when they came to a vacant lot. The place was deserted and no need to worry about being overheard here. He said there was more to the story, Kano prompted. The antiviral in question is stored in Kenji Osawa's laboratory. The lab is protected by a sophisticated security system, and apparently the storage area where the drug is kept requires fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. What? But Tanaka's... Kano couldn't help but gasp. Tanaka was currently a fugitive, the prime suspect in the kidnapping case. There was no chance of getting into fingerprint of this authorization from him at this stage. Is there any other way to get in? Kano asked. The door can also be unlocked via password in place of the fingerprint scanner, but we'd still need to know what Tanaka chose for his password. No. In any event, Stanley said, it's essential that we track down and secure Maria. But, he went on, his voice grave. Even if we get Maria to safety, the Mastermind is now in possession of the UO virus. If they want to, they can unleash a bioterrorist attack on Shibuya at any time. To put it bluntly, the lives of every man, woman, and child in the city are in their hands. Kano felt a pulse of fear deep enough to give him vertigo. He slowly tilted his head, and gazed at the sky, vast and blue as always. There had to be tens of thousands of people in Shibuya right now. Ruma and Shizuyo were among them. And they might all be dead within a day. It felt so unreal. Kano's mind almost couldn't process it. With an effort of will, he shook himself out of his daze. Now was no time to waver. You have to try, he said. In the next 4 hours, we need to find Maria Osawa and figure out a way to stop this Mastermind and the UO virus. The words were as much up for himself as they were for his companion. Let's do this, Stanley. We might not always see eye to eye, but together I feel like you and I can find a way. Stanley averted his gaze. My job here is simply to apprehend the Mastermind. Kano felt the resurgence of his earlier anger as Stanley once again he was putting his duties above human life. I'm sorry. Stanley's voice was a quiet mutter. You should get away from Shibuya as soon as possible, Kano. Kano hadn't imagined that the American would ever be worried for him. I appreciate the warning, he said, but I'm seeing this through to the end. This isn't the sort of thing you can solve with just an effort of willpower. Even so, giving up isn't the Japanese detective way. Stanley let out his nasal chuckle. Back to that again, Ari. Same to you. Kano managed a Chinese chuckle of his own. Listen, Stanley went on after a moment, this is just between you and me. The mastermind behind this kidnapping case is an arms dealer who goes by the name Alfred. Beyond simply selling weapons, illegal arms dealers are also frequently involved in smuggling weapons unlawfully obtained through deals with the government or military contacts. In recent years, such enterprises have become increasingly globalized. Some dealers form smuggling networks that also deal in money laundering, drug trafficking, and more. Alfred. The attempted bioterrorist attack in Kasumigaseki, a hotel bombing in Chicago. Alfred had a hand in all of them. What do you know about this criminal? Kano asked. Stanley's expression grew even darker. Alfred's signature is extremely meticulous planning, but I don't mean meticulous in the same way you or I might normally think of it. Their plans are perfectly imperfect. Do you get what I mean? Kano shook his head. Alfred deliberately engineers accidents to make things complicated and unpredictable. It's difficult to get a good grasp of what's going on when the situation seems to be falling apart. People tend to not to consider that coincidental mishaps might be anything but. In the end, they don't even realize they were playing right into the mastermind's hands all along. Kano could hear the intensity in Stanley's voice. I'm afraid that's all I can say. Stanley held out his right hand. See you around, Kano, if we're still alive. If we're still alive. Kano let this sink in for a moment. Now I'll shake your hand after we finish this case. With a slight smile, Stanley withdrew his hand. Then the two bumped fists instead. Alright, we'll meet again, Kano. I'm sure of it. Yeah, see you then. No sooner as Stanley departed than Kuze's voice came in over the wireless. Attention all units. As of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended. The director's voice sounded strangely cold. I repeat, as of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended. Wait, hold on, sir, Kano shouted. What is it, Kano? Could you let us know why? We've received information that Maria Osawa has been infected with an unknown virus and has been released somewhere in Shibuya. That matched up with what Stanley had said earlier. Anti-bioterrorism security force will probably be deployed in Shibuya. Terrorism involves biological agents such as bacteria or viruses. Biological weapons are easier to acquire and transport than nuclear weapons. Because they rely on an organism's natural ability to proliferate or infect, they can yield powerful results for low effort. For these reasons, recent years have seen widespread apprehension about the possibility that such weapons might be used by terrorists. In the event that a bioterrorist attack occurred in Japan, temporary quarantine and decontamination facilities would be set up in the area affected. This is no longer a simple kidnapping case. Our part in this is finished. No, it's not. We haven't managed to resolve anything. Kano, I assure you everyone else feels the same as you do, but his voice had a cautionary tone. They're still performing the autopsy on the body found in the blue minivan that exploded. I'll let you know once we have a positive ID. Kuze out. Director! But the light already gone dead. Left at a loss, Kano gazed out at the cityscape. The sight of the bombed vehicle had calmed down briefly, but now that the news networks had begun reporting, the herd of onlookers was growing. There was also a sizable crowd gathered outside of a large home electronics store. The large LCD televisions on display were showing a press conference being held by the governor of Tokyo. Kano might learn something new about the case. He decided to watch the broadcast. Kano's part in this was over. He had to hurry and find a room before it was too late. Kano might learn something new about the case. He decided to watch the broadcast. Working closely with the administration, we are keeping a careful eye on the situation as it develops. The governor's expression was solemn as he spoke. The moment he finished his statement, the reporters bombarded him with questions. It seems similar to that bioterrorist attack in Kasumigaseki 2 years ago. Is there any possible connection? What countermeasures do we have in the event that Shibuya is the target of bioterrorism? The governor was visibly disconcerted. this does turn out to be a bioterrorist attack, we will establish emergency shelters with a large-scale quarantine station at Yoyogi Park. However, there are still many details that remain unknown. The politician was clearly struggling to maintain his composure. Can you comment on the rumors we're hearing that Shibuya might be blockaded off? Don't be ridiculous, the governor barked. What outlet are you with? Are you trying to start a panic when we don't even know all the details? Besides, it wouldn't even be possible to blockade the whole of Shibuya. Press conference continued. The governor and the reporters locked in a belligerent back and forth. Kano left the electronics store and headed for the cafe where Rumi and Shizuo were waiting. He had to tell them both to get far away from Shibuya. So you finally go after all this time, man? Jeez. Cafe La Trek seemed quiet when Kano arrived. Shizuo was sitting alone. Kano scanned the establishment but didn't see Rumi anywhere. One of the staff greeted him. Welcome, just once, sir. No, I'm meeting someone, actually. Of course, sir. The hostess smiled and went on her way. Shizuo was glaring at him. Kano walked over to him and bowed deeply. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I'm Shinya Kano. You look like even more of a knuckle-dragger than I thought. Shizuo maintained his appraising stare. Rumi had something she needed to do, so she stepped away for a while, he said after a long moment. Kano sat down across from him. There was a laptop computer open on the table. Right now the laptop is in sleep mode and there's nothing on the monitor, but just before Kano came in, Shizuo was browsing an internet forum. He takes his user handle from a nickname for the apples he grows on his own farm, which are pretty little things and nearly as sweet as honey. Apple honey? Are you serious? No way. No way. No way. The waitress came by to take Kano's order, so he asked for an iced coffee. What are you using the computer for? Kano asked. I'm on the internet. Shizuo's voice was slow and gruff. This cafe has an internet connection? May as well start with a little small talk. So what? Again, Shizuo glared at Kano. The words wouldn't come. No, actually, this is no time to be making idle chit-chat. If they got infected with the virus, Rumi and Shizuo might die. Look. Please, you need to leave Shibuya right away. Shizuo's face contorted with confusion. What are you talking about? Why? Kano wasn't sure if he should tell the truth or not. He was strictly prohibited from discussing a case with anyone outside the department. As a former policeman himself, Shizuo ought to understand full well the secrecy an investigation required. But it wasn't like he'd just up and leave town without a good reason. Please, Kano said. It's very important that you go, though I'm not at liberty to tell you why. Even if this was Rumi's father, Kano couldn't bring himself to leak secret information. His mind spun with regret. Well, I don't need your say-so, Shizuo huffed. I'm sick of this town anyway. Kano was a bit relieved to hear that. Does this have something to do with the case you're working? Huh? You telling me to leave Shibuya? Does that have something to do with your case? Yes, Kano admitted. So why don't you run off with Rumi then? Shizuo's tone was frank. Well, I mean, when Kano didn't have an answer, handy Shizuo let out a single heavy sigh. Is your work important to you? He asked. Kano hesitated. Is it more important than Rumi? Well, again, Shizuo cut Kano off as he waffled over to how to answer. Me, I used to put my work before my family. There was no question in my mind that combating society's ills and solving cases was worth any price. Because of that, I did some pretty reckless things. I almost wound up dead more than once. Shizuo paused, a forlorn look in his eyes. My wife did nothing but worry about me, so much that I didn't even realize when she'd worried herself sick. I was so caught up in work that I wasn't even there for her when she finally passed away. It was all so very absurd of me. The waitress came by and set Kano's iced coffee on the table. I sat there untouched until Shizuo looked at it pointedly. Tiny nod, Kano brought the cup to his lips. The bittersweet liquid was a balm to his parched throat. I told Rumi the same story, Shizuo continued, but I didn't tell her how absurd it was. I told her that her father only did what he had to do. He took a sip from his glass of water. Rumi, she's very much like her mother used to be. Their personalities are almost identical, and I don't want her to suffer the same way my wife did. Shizuo's fist clenched in his lap. What was it that made you become a detective in the first place, he asked. Well, at first I got the job because I thought it would make Rumi happy. And then I guess also because I thought it'd make you like me, sir. It was the truth, but Shizuo simply chuckled. If your goal is to get me to like you, you may as well give up now. I'm sorry, sir, Kano said. I can't do that. I hear this stepping around Rumi, Shizuo grumbled. I love your daughter, sir. I want to keep her safe and to make her happy. And why is that? Whenever I think about her, I just feel so amazing. I'm sure that you or anyone can empathize with that. Everyone is someone they want to protect. Who makes them feel that good? It's an admirable thing, wanting to be a detective and protect the happiness of that people. But that doesn't mean you need to ignore your own happiness in the process. What you say may be true, sir. Earlier today, my partner was stabbed. Today's his wife's birthday. Shizuo arched his brow. Is he going to make it? We're not sure yet. Last I knew, he was in critical condition. This is why I keep saying that the life of a detective is. Suo's words trailed off into a lamenting murmur. Even so, Kano was unmoved. Dictum number 1. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. What's that? Something that a senior detective I admire very much said. It's the fundamental guiding principle I've stuck to as a detective. But I was wrong about the real meaning behind it. My partner was stabbed. There are people I want to rescue. So much has happened, and now I finally understand what those words mean. When you see someone in trouble, you help them. That's not something a good detective does. That's something a good person does. Kano took a good long look at Shizuo's face. He surprised himself finding the words to speak his feelings so clearly, and he wondered what effect it had had on the older man. I'm sure that from your perspective as my future father-in-law, being a detective means that I'm putting my life on the line. But that's not entirely true. I can only be myself. This is the kind of person I am. I care about helping people. Even if I were a baker or a brewer or a bookseller, I still act the same way. You're being ridiculous. A baker and a detective don't assume anywhere near the same risk. I suppose that's true. Can't fuss with his fair hair sheepishly. Shizuo grumbled. I think I see what a kind of man you are now. He sounded oddly defeated. Which is why now is no time to just futz around. Kano sat up straighter as Shizuo's weighty tone. A detective needs more than just passion. A detective can solve all his problems with sheer determination alone. But at the same time, he needs more than just the ability to coldly assess the situation. He needs the conviction to stick to a case when it might otherwise seem prudent to give up. There's something new in Shizuo's expression now, and a gleam in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Kano almost felt like he was being sermonized to by a senior officer. You got that? You need a cool mind but a fiery spirit. A detective without both of those is worth nothing. Do you mind if I write that down in my notebook here? Look, Shizuo said, sounding suddenly embarrassed. Aren't you in a hurry? Don't you have to get back to your case? Ah yes, then sir, please, I need you and your daughters to leave Shibuya right away. Yeah, I hear ya. Kano conjured up Rumbi's face in his mind. There was a chance he might never see her again. He forced the thought away as best he could. By the way, if I may ask, Shizuo said, what was it about Rumbi that made you fall in love with her? What? Where's this coming from all of a sudden? Was it her looks? No, it wasn't just that. Kano found himself tongue-tied again. I mean, she is pretty cute. Even if this is my own daughter I'm talking about. Shizuo shocked him by grinning from ear to ear. Oh yes, she sure is, Kano replied. But it's more than just that. She's also very sweet and kind-hearted. Ah, she is, isn't she? Yeah, she really is. For the first time, Kano and Shizuo smiled at one another. You're a man who lets his emotions show on his face, Shizuo said. For a detective, that's not so bad. Thank you, sir, Kano said. He bowed to Shizuo as he stood up from his seat. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect, huh? I like that. Wise words indeed. Kano turned to look back and then bowed deeply at Shizuo one last time. The ability to coldly assess a situation. Kano knew what he needed to do. There was one thing that was nagging him. No matter how hard he thought about it, it still didn't add up. I want to Tano let Al-Karawan go free. He needed to get back to the precinct and get the truth from Al-Karawan firsthand. As he went along, he considered what he did know about the facts of the case. Just what sort of plan had Alfred put into motion here? It seemed that Tanaka and Osawa held the keys to understanding it. There had been a relay handoffs to the phony Katachi case, a relay that Tanaka had been complicit in. And there was a Tomy missing carrying the Tavaro. Osawa had confirmed that himself. I didn't even touch this story. Kano was starting to form a vague picture of what Alfred was up to. The Mastermind's goal was to acquire the Tavaro, then obtaining the cooperation of Osawa and Tanaka was vital to that plan. After all, the fingerprint verification was required to physically assess the drug. In order to overcome that hurdle, Alfred had presumably managed to win over Tanaka somehow. Had and had then kidnapped Maria Osawa to provide leverage against her father. No doubt that was how they'd gotten Tomi to take the antiviral with her to Chico. While the police were distracted by following the anti-Chi case, Alfred would then take the antiviral from Tomi. That was the general plan, as far as Kano could surmise. Just then a call from Kuze came in over the wireless. We identified the body found inside the blown up minivan. Kano's hand tingled as he gripped the wireless. Mamoru Tanaka, male for Tanaka? An employee of Okoshi Pharmaceutical. Positive ID was obtained from the subject's personal belongings. Okay, now I don't believe it. What? Kano gasped. If Tanaka was dead, it would now be almost impossible to access the antiviral drug in the laboratory. At this point, the only antiviral they had any chance of obtaining was whatever Tomi was carrying. Kano thought back to what Stanley had said earlier. Even if we get Maria to safety, the Mastermind is in possession of the UA virus. If they want to, they can unleash a bio-terrorist attack on Shibuya at any time. To put it bluntly, the lives of every man, woman, and child in the city are in their hands. No. She ran down Kano's spine. If someone did release the UA virus, there would be no way to stop it from spreading. If Alfred really was planning a bio-terror attack, Shibuya would well and truly become a city of the dead. He couldn't help but feel that the whole department was playing right into Alfred's hands. Kano started physically stricken by the realization of just how terrifying a foe they were up against.